Mike Maines. Oh, you got your coffee?
What you drinking, man?
A little tea. I was thinking every time I make tea, I think of you. You were.
Are you a tea guy?
I do it because you do it. I thought.
I go back and forth. I like tea. Shannon really, my wife likes tea a lot, but we're both coffee snobs, man. Ever since we moved to Nashville, she bought this espresso machine, so we'll do like coffee in the mornings and lattes in the afternoons. But
lattes in the afternoon.
Yeah. Bigs up. But I don't know. Tea is better. So a friend of mine was saying that he prefers tea in the afternoons because the way that the caffeine releases from tea, it has a slow bloom. So it's more like just a steady kind of incline that slowly tapers off. Whereas with caffeine, you'll notice in the next 10 minutes, I'll be like, yeah, man, life's amazing. And then I'll probably be asleep before this is all said and done because there's more of a spike. But I like the way it tastes.
Hey, do you have headphones or like earpod things? Any chance?
Do. Let me see here. Yeah, I'll have to run out and grab them real quick.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. We're fine.
Sure?
That'll be fine.
All right.
Your room I love your room. It's so artistic and like measured, like the squares in the back. It looks awesome. And the guitar.
It's all just acoustic. So that's acoustic paneling. Our guitar player, Zach, he's really, really good with all that.
Who mounted the guitars?
Huh?
And who mounted the guitars?
I did that with my father-in-law yesterday. So those are all my guitars. That's a Fender Stratocaster Martin, and then that's just an Epiphone my really good buddy gave me. It's a beautiful, beautiful guitar. And then that's the synth spaceship. That's just kind of where we hang out and make music. But I've been shopping since you and I have been hanging out more. I've been shopping for uprights. We'll see, man. I just got to figure out where I'll put it in here. But I love it, man. I mean, I've always dreamed of having just a place that feels like home, that's kind of warm and cozy, and like I can just kind of close the door, forget about everything for a few hours and work on music. And that's exactly what this is. So I'm deeply grateful to have it, man. Where are you at?
I'm in my studio.
This is awesome.
Oh man, let me just show you a little bit. I noticed in the back, like, so we got to have the couch, right? Got to have the couch. There's some artwork.
Yeah, boy.
My mom made that painting.
Beautiful, man.
I thought that was cool. So this is just like seating.
Yeah.
I do some like office work here. And
this is great.
But then there's 2 rooms. So that's like the waiting room.
Okay.
This is where I have the 2 baby grands, which is nice. Lord. I know. TV on the wall. And, it gets kind of messy back here, but it's organized for me.
Why do you have 2? So that someone can sit next to you and...
Yeah, we play in unison. Then it's easier to show. And then I've never shown you, but this is the other studio. I'm just showing you now because when else am I? Like every room has a piano. There's the piano there.
Is that a Yamaha P22?
No, the electric one, yeah.
Those are Yamaha uprights, aren't they?
Oh no. That's a Story and Clark, and the other one's a Kimball. The Yamahas are the electrics.
Okay.
Anyways.
That's awesome, dude. And this is your school. But this is your school that you started, right?
Back. That was a fun little detour. Nice chance to show you where we work.
And this is your school that you started, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
Hey, man, different strokes. We both love music.
Yeah.
You are, I know we've talked about this so many times, but honestly, it always goes back to you. Like you and Shane Roosevelt.
Love Shane, man. Don't talk to him enough, but yeah, who knows, man. I don't know. I think when I look back, I genuinely feel like it's kind of a miracle that the three of us made it out of there. And I even 5 years ago, I would have said like made it out of there. Like McBain was this terrible place to grow up. I think McBain's like one of the best places in America that you can grow up, man. Such wholesome people. Everyone like looks after and takes care of each other. But in terms of the arts, God bless Mrs. Nevereth. She saved my life. And George Lucas as well, like Mr. Lucas.
Wait, Harv Lucas?
Harv Lucas. Why did I say?
Well, yeah, no. George Lucas has had quite the impact.
Yeah, a little different. I've been watching.
I love Star Wars too.
Yeah, dude, I've been watching. So we've already watched The Mandalorian. I'm just like so. But Harv Lucas. I mean, like being in Highlighters, you were a rock star, man. If you could make it to Highlighters, it was like the coolest thing. So it was definitely there, right there. And when I look back on it now, I recognize they definitely facilitated a space for the arts, and you could excel. But in terms of like, unless you wanted to teach and had a calling to teach, there wasn't a lot to kind of keep you glued to that city, and so we've all kind of spread our wings and flew away. But Shane, I mean, seems to be really happy, man, and he's out in, I know it's Canada. He's like on an island, right?
He was out on the island. Now he's on the east coast of Canada.
Okay.
British Columbia. He's doing like a pastor. He's like a pastor now. He's doing a lot of stuff, work with the church and music.
Is he a youth pastor or like pastor?
I think he's like on the track to be pastor.
Okay. Man, good for him.
Good for him. Yeah. It's kind of, what can I say?
What you call a professional Christian?
I had that discussion with him about when what you do or the love that you have becomes a profession. It's an interesting world. Like he said, as it becomes your relationship with God becomes transactional. That's a tricky place to exist.
Especially if you start to look around you and start seeing cracks in the wall start to spread, and then you go, oh no, right? Yeah. And I think that's with anything. I don't mean to isolate it to faith, but you see that in music as well. Like you get into it because you think it's being successful at whatever it is. Like we all kind of choose our heroes differently. But you think that your heroes or the people doing what you feel called to do wake up every day, and as soon as they wake up, they're like in a spa and they're getting like a full body massage while someone's also shoveling like pancakes into their mouth and like, yes sir, what kind of coffee would you like? But it's just work, and there's pros and cons to it, and you want to be successful at anything. There is, like Shane is realizing, that there's a financial tip to it. And it's transactional. Yeah, it's cool.
So tell me, what's it like for you? You literally are doing the thing that people love. Oh, I love music. Oh, I love music. I've heard that my whole life. And here you are actually making a living off it. How does that work for you?
I think when I don't invite my ego to work, I think it's wonderful. When I'm just in here in this room, or when I'm, we've got guitars in the living room. Eventually I have a piano out there as well, so that when I wake up, I just make coffee, and I typically try to spend the first couple of hours of every day just drinking coffee and writing. When I'm in that space, I'm not worried about how many followers we have on Instagram or Spotify or this or that, or all the ways that it's like high school all over again. Like, oh, you're in this club or that, or you're the best player on the team or you're the third best player on the team. Like all the stats, all that crap that we think will escape when we get out of high school, it just morphs into, oh, so-and-so has like this car. And you know what I mean? Like whenever I'm in that headspace of comparing myself to where someone else is or what someone else has, it's so easy to strip all of the beauty, all of the joy away from what you're doing. But when you put blinders on and you just sort of bury yourself in the work, all of that melts away, and you just get the best gift of all, which is just swimming in the sea of music, man. Like they don't make drugs that good. I used to do them. Trust me. You know, like it's but the financial piece to it, I think if I've learned anything over the last 10 years or so of doing this, it's save. You know, my wife is, I always tell people I'm married to this like beautiful stingy Polish woman who, I say stingy, she's very generous, but she's also like very thrifty. She'll never buy clothes full price. She'll never buy, like if we need something for the house, she'll go to every thrift store there is or clearance rack there is, or try to find, like she'll find something like a piece of clothing or whatever that she wants, and she will never buy it new, ever. And she'll wait until it goes on sale to get it. So that mentality has spread into our business because she also manages our finances. And so, I mean, she's very, very frugal, and that's kind of how we've always been able to make it work, as we were broke starting out. So we didn't have anything, and we learned how to make do with what we had. And now that, 10 years later and we're doing much better, she's been able to kind of implement all of those things that worked out early on, so that, when you do have a good windfall here or there, you're not just spending it and blowing it on something. So, but all that to say, I think I've also learned there's always going to be somebody with more money than you. There's always going to be somebody with less. And so to me, I'm always redefining what wealth means to me. And for me, 5 years ago, wealth was Monday through Friday. I get up, and from the time that I wake up until the time that I go to bed, I want to be doing whatever I want to do and paying my bills at that.
It sounds like with your music, it kind of sounds like it feeds each other. Like here you are making money off your music, but really what you'd really, really want to be doing is those mornings with coffee and writing in the living room. Like that's when you're at your most it's like you're exploring music most then. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's not about, and I really do try to do that every day. Like even like this week, I have an artist coming, and we're gonna finish producing his EP. We're doing a 4-song EP with this amazing guy named Andrew Shoemaker. But even still, on those mornings, I'm gonna get up and I'll still probably write for 30 minutes at a minimum. Not for him. Who knows what those songs are for, but writing for me is, yes, it's my job and it's my career, but it's also a part of what it's a daily. I read this book called The Four Noble Truths of Writing, and one of the things was, it was like this Zen Buddhist saying that said, you don't clean to make things clean, you clean to make the objects in your house look like someone paid attention to them. Yeah. So for me, songwriting is like kind of climbing up into the attic here every morning and just bringing a broom and a dustpan with me and kind of sweeping it clean and sucking out all the cobwebs so the sunlight can fall in through the windows, and I can go throughout the rest of my day with a sense of clarity. And
sounds therapeutic.
It is. It truly is, man. Yeah.
Is that one of your favorite parts of music, or what is your favorite thing about music?
man, man.
Or do you even have a favorite?
I think, to me, I distill it all into the song, like songs. My favorite thing about music is songs. The 3.5 enigmatic piece of recorded music, or that being expressed live. I think that's got to be it for me. Seeing one of my favorite artists whose music has lived inside of my heart and carried me through pain and joy and wonder, being able to go and see them sing those songs live and experience other people who've connected to that music like I have is incredible. It's a spiritual thing.
Can you tell me about that story about Thursday again?
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I was 15. I'd recently moved from McBain to Bellevue, Michigan, which is teetering on the edge of Battle Creek, Michigan, which is sort of like I don't know if you'd call it the lower Tri-City. There's like Marshall, Michigan, and Lansing and Battle Creek. All those cities are kind of in it. I think it's triangular. And my uncle was an engineer, and I had sort of reached the end of the rope with my dad, who, long story short, I won't bore anybody with details, but just very, very abusive, and Child Protective Services intervened and moved me downstate with my aunt and uncle. They were very supportive of my artistic pursuits and would let me go to concerts. So one of the concerts was 2003. No, it might have been 2002. And I went with my buddy Tony Hulse. We were in 10th grade, and we went to see this band called Thursday. And it was on a Thursday. It was the day before. It was July 3rd, 2002 or 2003. And they played this venue called the Intersection in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And 500 tickets sold out. Bunch of hot, sweaty kids and black clothing singing their guts out. And I remember when Jeff, their lead singer, he was singing their song Understanding in a car crash, and just like looked me dead in the eye. That was their biggest song at the time. And it was like whatever was in him, right? Like the Jedis talk about, like the Force, you're like, you are a magnet that is caught in that kind of like gravitational pull of whatever kind of force is swirling around on the inside of Jeff, right? So I'm there, I'm watching him, he locks eyes, and it was like something was transmuted from him to me. And in that moment, I knew I'll never do anything else. Like, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. And I just never looked back. I had a full ride scholarship to Ferris State University for graphic design, like on the table. Audios, I'm good. Pass. I want to do music. Because that, being a kid that grew up without a strong sort of nuclear family framework, like a mom and a dad who like goes to work, comes home, and your story is similar to mine. You didn't have that kind of a framework either. And but having that, I filled that void with music. And going to that show in particular, but just rock shows in general growing up, it was like, oh, there's other people that feel the way that I do. And that guy doesn't look much older than me. And I've got this guitar, and I can strum a few chords, and I can sing a song about all my emotional feelings.
Can we hold on?
What? I think someone's connected to it.
So our car has like a Bluetooth thing, and whenever she's pulling out of the driveway right now, and I think my phone must have still been connected to it.
She may have heard you singing or something.
It's probably like, what? Turn this
I
crap off.
could sing my guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the idea that I could do what those people were doing, right? Like, because my heroes weren't like these giant bands. I would go to shows in like VFW halls and see bands like Mulligan, or band I always wanted to see was like Small Brown Bike. These are like little bands, these are bands that are probably around the same size, if not a little smaller than like my band is today. You can go and sell a few hundred tickets in cities all over the country. Like, we're not selling out arenas, but we're making a living playing rock and roll. And I was like, I don't know if I can do like the Bono U2 thing, maybe, but I can do that. I can like pack a van full of a bunch of people and like go play shows and win fans and do that. I can definitely do that. I'll figure that out. And then whatever else comes. And that's what that show did for me.
Mm. And that all goes back to that 3.5 enigmatic piece of music that you were like, that's what it is. It's like that 3-minute song. That's the whole focus of what you do. It seems like it's writing that 3.5-minute song and sharing that with people and building an entire career off the concept that you have to sell yourself in that amount of time for each song. It's like,
yeah,
on the smallest level, it's just that. When you say those things like how I never get tired of hearing that story, because like it just reminds me and of all the times in my life when somebody's reached into my life and looked me dead in the eye about whatever it is, and there was a moment where like, yeah, I get it. And it comes in all different forms. And when I watch your live performances, you are very intense with your eye contact. I've seen that. Like, you're looking at people, you're reaching inside their soul, and you're like letting them know that you're there. It's a very, very powerful experience, I think, for people to watch you.
Yeah, I mean, I was the weirdo, right? So I was the kid that didn't fit in. I was the kid that I didn't feel like I had a home. But music was my home. I felt most at home at rock shows, right? So I recognize that there are these young people coming to our shows because they feel accepted, and they feel like this is a safe place for them to come and find whatever it is that they're looking for, at our shows. So for me, it's like, you might have spent $20 or $25 on a ticket, whatever it might be. But before that, you went out to dinner with your friends, and maybe you bought a drink. And then by the time the night's through, you'll probably have spent money on merch. So I'm kind of looking out into the audience saying, like, on average, these people have all probably spent, by the time you add up parking and everything, like $75 to $100 to be here with our band. And I'm not like thinking about it like, I'm not thinking about it like a financial transaction as much as I'm thinking about like everything that the people who are here tonight, all the things that they had to do to be there and be a part of that, are these little sacrifices that they made to be a part of something. And I need to show up. Like, I want that eye contact because I care. And in a way, when I hit rewind and remember the way that I was bullied in school, and how music kind of helped me find refuge, I feel that it's now my responsibility to make that eye contact and talk with those people after shows, because God only knows what they've carried in with them when they've come to those shows. So how can I play a small role in altering the trajectory that they're on, hopefully for the better.
Yeah, every dollar matters. And you're giving the most for that dollar, or at least trying to give them every dollar spent to be worth it. Not transactionally, but I mean, you're definitely maybe giving more than what they're paying. I mean, you're
Yeah.
giving everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the goal, man.
That's the goal in life. I think that's what people got to find their thing, and they got to do it. It's just interesting that you found music. Like, how come it wasn't like rocketry or
Yeah.
math? Math could have been your thing.
Yeah. Whew. Wish it could have been. Man, I don't know. I genuinely, when it comes to that, I think some people are like, he was born with it. I don't necessarily buy that. I think a lot of it is kind of what you're born into. And I was born into a scenario where, my parents were kind of screaming and fighting at each other at a very young age. I just remembered that being just kind of feeling like you wake up and you're always walking around on eggshells, trying to not to get in the way of these like people that are towering over you, and they seem to be sad and angry. Oh, but there's this thing in the corner that's got music dripping out of these speakers, and I'm hearing the voices of someone singing about how this sweetheart of his broke his heart on a Saturday, and now he's laying in the back of the pickup looking up at the stars, wondering what it all means. It's like, oh, meanwhile, while my dad's pissed off, like drunk in the kitchen, yelling at my mom, I'm thinking about being, into the great wide open, under them skies of blue, out in the great wide open, a rebel without a clue. That song by Petty. It's like, while all that was going on around me, I was just kind of lost in this musical hurricane in my head. And I think that was what helped me endure a lot of the kind of twists and turns of my childhood, is with music, I could kind of create my own weather up here. I couldn't control what it was like on the outside, but I could kind of numb the pain or distract myself or medicate myself with music. And then it's like, well, why would I want to do anything other than that? Because it wasn't just listening. Mrs. Rollins, our 8th grade like English teacher, had us put together this I just found this in a box. It's like in our kitchen right now, dude. This like poetry book that I made in 8th grade.
Wow.
In McBain. And there's poems in there that were published. She pulled me aside and was like, dude, you have, she didn't say dude, of course, but you have a gift. And several poems from that book were published. So that was, up until that point, Shane and I had this band in 8th grade, but I was the drummer. Shane was a singer. I had zero interest in being a frontman. I just wanted to bang on drums. I had all that like aggression, right?
Yeah.
And then it was Mrs. Rollins saying, you have a gift with words. You have a way with words. There's a lot that you should pay attention to that. Then 9th grade rolls around, or no, it was 8th grade too. It was later that year. I remember I was like, who was it? It was like Jesse Larson, Emanator Hood, Katie
Bradstrom.
Katie Bradstrom. I think, yeah, did I get that right?
Yeah.
It's been about 15 years.
Yeah,
and
whatever. Time.
All those, pretty girls in our class, and I've got to like, I gotta sing for choir class, and I sang with, who's it, Bobby Timmerman?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, dude. I sang "Drops of Jupiter" by Train, And like, you know, the girls in the class are like blushing, like, oh my gosh, that was so good. And I was like, well, hey man, if they think this is cool, maybe there's something to it. It's like, I can combine these emotional lyrics that I have with my voice. Well, you know, what is that? When you take lyric and melody, well, you have a song. People think I'm cool. So maybe there's part of what got me into it was really selfish reasonings, like getting attention.
The validation that you're something, you know,
Yeah.
like I keep thinking of what that famous Albert Einstein quote of like, you can't judge a fish's ability to climb a tree.
Mm.
If you do that, then the fish will always think that it's stupid. And, you know, luckily you figured that out real quick, that you weren't meant to go study like biology and then progress down. Like, you knew right away, like, hey, I have this thing and I want to use it. And you say you could have gone to graphic design in fair state.
Yeah.
You said no to that. I mean, you're very confident. I think a lot a lot of people struggle with, like, they have the interest, but they got to play it on the safe side. And for whatever reason, you know, they're like, well, I have this interest in music or singing or whatever, but I got to go to school and, you know, got to get my backup plan. But that never really occurred to you. You were just like, that's it.
Well, how many people do you have to see fail at playing it safe before you say, I'm just gonna go risk it all and succeed at doing what I love? How many friends do we have? I mean, I'm not trying to speak ill of anyone. How many people do we know that went to college and changed their degree 4 different times because the first 3 years that they were there, they were just getting the degree that their mom wanted them to get because that was the unlived dream inside of their parents? Like, how many children grow up, get college degrees because they're fulfilling the unlived life of their parents, not the life that they wanted to live?
They just don't know. I think they just don't know. They didn't,
Yeah.
for some reason. Like, I didn't know either, and that was going to be my life, the one that you're talking about, until I met you. I met Shane. He sparked that interest, but then I met you, and it was like, sorry, college, I'm done. Like, I need to experience this music in my own way before I can even consider like going back to college.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, like I think it's just you that you know you were born into just the right circumstances to be that, for yourself and for people around you. But I was wondering earlier, do you find people that express, like, I don't know, like pity? Because like, you having to deal with that at an early age is really tough. Like, not most people don't have to deal with that. So it makes me wonder, is the only way to really do that is to experience some trauma?
I I don't know. I don't think so. You know, I don't buy into the tortured artist narrative that like the only way that you can like create great art is if you've got a needle half full of heroin like dangling out of your arm. You know, I think that those are lies that it's just like Hollywood. It's BS, man. Like, I think there's a quote I really love by Stephen King. He says, you know, amateurs sit and wait for inspiration, but the rest of us just wake up and get to work. Like, Kyle Smith was not the quarterback of our like football team in high school because he had talent. I think he had a dad that like made him work his ever living butt off. And I think that there's probably a lot that Kyle put in to being the athlete that he was when no one else was around. I think he put in more time before practice and after practice. I mean, I don't know, but we definitely spent more time together in senior year than any other time, but love the dude to pieces. I think he was who he was because he put the time in. He worked harder than anybody else. So all of that to say, I think the songs that I write, I think the fans that I have, and kind of the aesthetic and narrative that surrounds my brand as an artist, I think what I experienced as a child and as an adolescent shaped the content that I've created that has attracted people to it. But I guess what I will say is I'm also like pretty into like understanding where my heroes came from. And I will say, you know, Bono, his mother died when he was very young. Bruce Springsteen had an extremely abusive, alcoholic father. He's like at the pinnacle for me. Tom Petty, terrible relationship with his dad. Yeah, it's kind of like show me a rock and roller without some daddy issues. You know, I think maybe one of the only real exceptions, like Taylor Swift, like her father was a multimillionaire businessman and he owned a company called Swift Trucking, and he sold that, took all the money that he made from that and started her career. Now there are people that think that she's like not a real artist because she had a wealthy dad who like built like her career, to which I say that's a bunch of BS. Like she was born into a set of circumstances that gave her an opportunity. But if you look at what she's done with it, it's incredible. She's like one of the most inspiring and incredible like artists in music today. So I was born into a weird little set of circumstances, but I can look back on it now and be deeply grateful, man, because it's made me who I am, you know. Same goes for you, man.
I'm so thankful for every moment, every experience I have with you.
Dude, same.
Yeah, thank you. And I know there must be many other people who feel that same way. So we're all very lucky to have you in our lives.
Dude, I feel that same way about you, man. You know, we're all spinning around on a rock, you know.
Here we are.
Let go and enjoy it a bit more. It's a gift, man. If I've learned anything, life is a gift. It's a privilege. You know, whenever I am in McBain, I try to go see Paul and Kyle and Bruce, you know, whenever I get that chance. For those of you who don't know, that's some friends of ours that all passed away the same year, high school. They're 16, man. We've lived past their death longer than like they ever, you know what I mean? Like, so 16, so I'm 33.
I'm 30 something, 32. I don't even remember.
Yeah. So they it's just like crazy. They've lived, they only had half the time here on earth that we've had. It's crazy. So
well, I love this. Love talking with you. Hopefully we can.
You gotta go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's pick this up again another time, and you know, just see how life keeps progressing on this rock. Sound good?
Man. Yeah, dude. Thanks so much, buddy. You're a blessing, Chris. We'll catch up with you soon, man. Merry Christmas, dude.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Peace, buddy.